Thank you for stopping by Luxuriously Poor, and I hope you find today's video helpful. And I would like to say that if you need wisdom on what to do for now or the future, this book is extremely helpful. I do not consider this a healthy or a good option for dessert for your Thanksgiving dinner. It costs too much and it's full of too much artificial stuff. Instead, try the recipe that I'm going to give you for wonderful pumpkin bread. Okay, I'd like to start off by saying, because I know that a lot of people think that purchasing things that are organic or much better for us cost us a lot more. And in many cases, that is not true. Organic can actually even save us more money. And many times we don't have to use as much of the product, or we have to look for recipes that give us more bang for the buck. And this is one of them, okay? This costs 20 more cents at my Sprouts than Libby's does. Now, Libby's is not organic, but they do have a pure pumpkin. And what I did is I searched because I had a recipe that would make one loaf, but I found a recipe that will make 2 loaves from 1 can. That's double my money for this can of pumpkin. Now, like I said, the Libby's is 20 cents cheaper than this. This was on sale and I bought several cans of it. And so I'm going to show you the pumpkin pie, or not pie, pumpkin bread that I'm going to make with this. And another thing that I use in this is organic cane sugar. Now, that you don't have to get this at Costco. You can buy this kind of organic cane sugar at Walmart. Okay, now let me get this going here and we'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to start here. I'm going to start by showing you the recipe. Okay, now I put all the wet ingredients in one bowl and all the dry ingredients in another. Now, I changed one thing in this recipe, and that is the amount of sugar. This recipe calls for 2 2/3 cup of sugar, and I'm only going to use 2 cups of sugar. I'm not going to use the 2/3. Organic sugar is much, much sweeter than regular sugar, and I poured it into this bowl. Now, another thing the recipe calls for that I changed, oh no, I didn't. I wrote it down that way. 1 cup of melted butter. I don't use oil. A lot of recipes call for oil. I don't. 1 cup of butter, okay? That's what this recipe is, and that's what I'm going to use. Now, I'm going to stir this together. It also calls for 4 eggs, so let me get the eggs in there too. Here, I put my 4 eggs inside here, and I just stirred them around. I just cracked them in a bowl. It's to check them to make sure they're not too overly bloody. You know what? At home, chickens, it's very common to get a little bit of blood, and sometimes in the eggs. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now we're going to go over here. We're going to pour this here. And we're going to mix this up really good because we want all this mixed up. Okay, so let me get this mixed up and we'll come back. Okay, I have everything here mixed together. Now I'm going to say one other thing. I do not like nutmeg or allspice. And so on this, I did not put anything as far as spices go. But I always use 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I do that in sweet potato pie. I do that in pumpkin pie. I do that in pumpkin bread. You can use 1 teaspoon of allspice, or you can use nutmeg. It's up to you. Spices are totally your own thing, okay? I don't care for them, just the cinnamon. Now, this is all my wet ingredients. This is my sugar, my pumpkin, my eggs, my butter. It's everything. The flour, baking soda, and baking powder is here. Now, I don't put salt in anything that's sweet. I just never have. Some people do. They swear it brings out more of the sweetness. I don't. One other thing that this calls for is 2/3 cup of water. Okay? I'm going to add it in a little at a time. Like when I add the flour, I'll add a little bit of the water. Like this. This is how I'll do it. And then I'll stir. Now I'm going to do my stirring off camera. So I'll be back. But I'm going to alternate with the flour and the water. And we'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to show you a trick that I do so that I can make handles for this bread pan. So it's easy for me to lift out this bread. I'm going to cut along this paper right here. This is parchment paper. I got it at Dollar Tree. You know, you can use the roll kind. This was some sheets. This is a sheet. I cut it in half and it gives me 2. This is 2 loaves of bread, so it works perfectly. I have my Nutter Butter cutting this because, you know. Okay, now I'm going to move over here. And what I'm going to do is push this down inside this. Can you see that? You got on the edges hanging over. And so this becomes a lift to help you lift the bread out. Okay, I got them into the pans. Wasn't easy. You know, you try to not make them too messy. This one over here turned out a little bit messier. Got a little bit more on the sides, but it doesn't matter. You know, we're not perfect when it comes to cooking. We're just not. So we're going to bake this at 350, the 2 of these, for about an hour. It might be an hour, 10 minutes, or an hour and 20 minutes. What you do is you stick a knife in the center or a fork, or a toothpick, I should say. And if it comes out clean, it's good to go. Okay, here we are. Now this is our bread. And doesn't this look good? Now, like I said, I had a recipe that for 1 can of this pumpkin and for 2 cups of sugar, it only did 1 loaf of bread. I stumbled across a recipe because I search for recipes that will give me more for the same amount of ingredients, or maybe even less ingredients. But that's what you have to do, and that's what I did in this case. Now, I'm hoping I can, I did it. I thought I was going to have to call somebody for help. But you see how easy this comes out when you put this paper? You see? Well, I hope you'll try this recipe because it's absolutely delicious. Delicious, good for you. It is good for you. Pumpkin is extremely good for you, not high in calories. You're using a healthier sugar, less sugar than what it calls for in the white sugar, which is better for you. And I use an organic sugar and an organic flour, which both are much better for you. Well, have a happy Thanksgiving and God bless.